capture is not working. See what I mean? Every time I do this, at first something doesn't work. Alright, fixed. So we are good. We are live on the internet for people to see.
Whoa!
So we have a slightly different program today than usual. Andrew is stuck clicking for credits, so he's out of action this week. Instead, I have John Treviranus with me today.
Yo, yo!
Thanks for helping out, John. And Baxter is here like usual, just sitting on my lap, being a jerk. So he'll hang out as well. And what we got going on today is a little bit different. We are going to get to Netrunner, but first we're talking about One Last Job. And the cool thing we're doing, and we're not going to get into it right away, but in a little bit, we're going to jump over to One Last Job Techie, which is the... we don't have a better name for it, but it's the web version of One Last Job. And what the heck is One Last Job? One Last Job is a card game that Aki Cabrera and myself have been working on for a while, and it is on its last week on Kickstarter, and it's a physical card game, so, you know, cards on a table type of thing. It has a lot of things that Netrunner players might be interested in, and Aki kind of just spent a week, unknown to me, working on a web version of the game. So we're literally going to play it for the first time tonight.
Yeah, the debut of Aki's hard work.
Yeah. So we'll also explain how the game works. I think this is a really good way to explain how the game works. Explain what some of the cards do. You'll notice, like, obviously the cards don't have artwork yet. We do have some artwork in the game, but I don't think it's represented in this version yet. And also, we're going to eventually be talking about Nationals, the Netrunner National Tournament, with which John and myself and a bunch of people just came back from, up in Seattle.
Yeah, which was a great time.
Yeah, you had fun with that, huh, John?
What'd you say?
You had fun with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all did pretty well. You did pretty well. What was your finish?
Top 8.
Top 8.
Yep. So pretty good. Not as good as last year, but I think that would be unrealistic to expect.
It's what you aim for. John did win that tournament last year. Man vs. Stress, Solemn Storm, Arbor Fowl. Everyone in the stream tonight. Guess how much pasta I'm going to have in the next half an hour. If it's bigger than those plates of pasta you had at the Nationals, I will be very surprised. Arbor Fowl is Isaac and ate just an amazing is the word I would use, right, John? Did you see that plate of pasta? Incredible amount of pasta.
I don't know what he's doing with his life. He should be doing eating contests for a living.
Yeah, I don't know if they do pasta eating contests, but
there's got to be an eating contest for everything, right?
Yeah. And I figure we'll also probably... I don't have John on the stream a lot, so we'll probably also build a deck or something later. Maybe we'll just talk about Rain and Reverie combos or something. Who knows? Yeah,
for sure. We'll do something.
So yeah, I guess we'll get into it. I don't know. People sometimes take a while to filter in. I don't know how many people are out there yet, but we'll get into it, and I'll just explain the rules multiple times as we go. But yeah, so One Last Job is a asymmetric 2-player card game. It is based around the idea of a heist, so it's kind of like a heist movie as a card game. And basically the 2 players are the powers, which I'll be playing the powers, and there's multiple factions in the powers side of the game. It's the powers that be. So I'll be playing the mob, and John will be playing the professionals, which is kind of like your Ocean's 11 style, you know, just movie crew. Yeah, and John, you've played this game quite a number of times, but it has been a while.
Yeah, I played it, and I think a part of it is that I've played so many versions of it that I have somewhat of a trouble keeping it straight, but I think I mostly still know how to play.
Yeah, you know John did play, many versions of this game. I think I met you, John, when we were just like maybe a month or 2 into making this game.
Yep.
It gives you an idea of how long we've been working on it. But and so you tried some very early versions. I remember you trying a version where for the crew, all the cards on the table eventually came back to their hand. And that version was horrible, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is that most people, when they get a game, especially one off, Kickstarter, I guess something's like a product of love that has been like worked on for so long, they don't really get just exactly how much went into making it. And this is one of those games, I think, where it kind of felt like you guys really tried it all. Yes. And you landed in like a really, really solid version of the game. Just from like almost, it felt like a year and a half of playtesting it.
Yeah, it was. It was like roughly that long. Yeah, and neither. So I've been working on games a long time, but I'd only worked on small prototypes of tabletop games. I'd never really seriously made a tabletop game, and I am pretty naive about these things, and just sort of decided, well, this is what I want to do next. I want to make this card game. Kilf. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Keith, I'm gonna say Kilf. We are gonna play One Last Job. So we're gonna get into this in a couple minutes. I'm just kind of warming up here, but we're gonna explain how it works and play it. So that should be pretty good. But yeah, so I never really made a tabletop game, but just decided it's something I could do, and it was very, very challenging.
Yes, you see, there's this thing that happens where game developers are like, oh yeah, I make games, I could make a tabletop game. And tabletop game designers do it too. Like, I've heard stories of tabletop game designers making the crossover, being like, "Oh, well, I've made tabletop games. I can make a video game." And I think there's the two worlds they're a very a unique set of challenges unto their own.
Yes, absolutely. It was very freeing at first to work on this too, because the first time I met a key to work on this, I just brought a box of blank playing cards off Amazon for about $10. I brought a pen, and that was the process. We just started drawing on the cards, numbers and whatnot, and talking about what we want this game to feel like and how it should be like a heist and all this kind of stuff. And it really just started from there. And that was, being a programmer and working on video games, it's the opposite. You start with nothing, and you have to architect. You have to kind of build a skyscraper until you can make your game. And this was kind of the opposite process. So no, Nutritional Zero, this is not Octagon. This is what we're calling it One Last Job Techie. This is a custom web version of One Last Job in its own platform. Yeah, so Aleph there is Aki, who made this web app and is the co-developer, co-designer on One Last Job. Hey there, Michael. So I think,
real quick,
go ahead.
You're cutting out a little bit for me. I'm just wondering if anyone else in the stream.
Oh yeah, let us know. Am I sounding okay out there? I do have a fan on me. I'll turn this off because that could be interrupting the mic in some way. I'll just be hot, and that's fine. Someone go ahead and message Wes on Slack. Let him know that I'm streaming. I can't message him right now. I know what he's talking about, though. It's not a big deal.
Okay, cool. I think everyone's saying it sounds good. It might have been just me, but I think it's good now.
Okay, we're good. Cody in the stream. All right, so let's get into it. Do you want to say anything else, John, or are we ready to go?
Oh, no, other than, I'm just excited to play this game because it's a sweet game.
Yeah, let's do it. So the way One Last Job works, you have the crew versus the powers. So I'll be playing the powers. The powers are the mob. There's other factions in the powers. There's the megalomaniac. I'm sorry, we call that side the mastermind now, not the megalomaniac. The mastermind. That's kind of like a James Bond supervillain. And there's also the society, which is like a secret society, and they each have a different heist they're kind of defending in a way. So the mob, they have the casino heist. So we're kind of doing a casino heist, and the crew. So the mob is playing on the top side of the screen here, and I'm playing right here, and the crew's on the bottom. The crew's the professionals. There's the freaks, which are basically 90s computers hackers. And there's also the street gangs. And that's kind of like, I posted about that to the Kickstarter. That's like the movie The Warriors is the best way to describe it.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of different street gangs that come together for the greater good of robbing from the rich or something.
Yeah, and they have a variety of backgrounds.
Yes, yeah. And there's two like sub gangs within that set, but the idea eventually would be, if we were able to expand this game to create a bunch of smaller gangs that kind of have like very specific tribal effects and kind of work with each other and against each other in various ways and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're doing the professionals versus the mob, and we'll see how the cards play off. But what you do in the game, there are these locations in the center of the table. Sorry, I gotta get my cat off my lap. He's trying to go after my string cheese. You're not getting the string cheese, Baxter. It's not happening.
He doesn't know that.
He doesn't. He just thinks, oh, string cheese, that's for me. So there's locations, right? The game starts off with 1. So this location is the drop off. So it's on the street, and it's just a drop off of some document or whatever. It's left up to the players to decide what that means. The drop off has a custom deck on it, and that's represented by these cards to the right. So these little icons to the right of the dropped off. This is a guard icon, 2 lock icons, and a snag icon. And we'll get into what those mean a little bit later, but that represents a deck. So there's going to be 4 cards in that deck on this location. There's also a resolution to the scene. So the location in the middle is the scene, and it has a resolution. And I can choose one of these 2 resolutions. They're very similar. The only difference are these numbers. The number on the left is how many points this resolution is worth. So it's either 3 points or 4 points. And the number on the right is how much influence I have to exert at that scene to control that resolution, to swing the resolution in my favor of that scene. So I have a decision here to put this bigger resolution or the smaller one. And I'm just going to choose the smaller one for now. And there's all sorts of ways you make that decision. And then the game starts. So it starts on my turn. So I'm kind of in a defensive position. I need to slow the crew down from kind of, to use Netrunner terms, from accessing the resolution, or what you might call the agenda in Netrunner. I have to slow them down from accessing the resolution in the scene. And I need to score the scene out by putting influence on it. So you have 5 actions on your turn. Both players do. You always do a mandatory draw. You can draw for an action. You can play cards for the play cost in the top left. So Jimmy here would be 2 to put down. There's abilities on your cards, so just mousing over your cards you can see abilities. So I could add influence to the back office, so I'll do that for my first action. So as an example, now my back office has 1 influence point on it, which I can move over to the scene later on. But the first thing I want to do is I want to kind of defend the drop-off. So I'm going to play a card in my hand. I'm going to play the bouncer and assign it to the drop-off. Now, from John's point of view, even though I said the card, John probably doesn't remember what it does.
I don't know what your cards are.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, from John's point of view, this bouncer card is face down. John knows it's kind of a defensive card. He knows it's a person. He knows it's an actor. This is an actor. And beyond that, he doesn't know what exactly it does. So this is roughly equivalent to ice in Netrunner, is the way to think of it. I have 2 actions left in my turn. I'm going to... I think I'm just basically going to take some more influence now to keep it simple. So the influence are kind of the resource I use to score my points eventually. So that's the end of my turn. I can end my turn, and then it's over to John. John,
cool.
I don't know what...
I'll walk through things that I commit to doing.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And just remember, people don't see your screen, obviously. They only see mine.
Yeah.
So yeah, just play your turn out the best you can.
My actors, along with the help of various items and other things and events, are going to be basically looking to get into the drop-off and get the resolution out from that pile of cards.
Yes.
Of course, it's not really that easy because most of the cards in the drop-off are actually cards that do bad things to me or prevent me from really getting in and doing it. So,
yes.
Let's see here.
While you're thinking, I'll explain this really quickly.
No.
So in the drop-off, I'm kind of pointing. You can't see me pointing at my screen. But anyway, in the drop-off, then the right side of the screen, under the drop-off, you see 5 icons right now, and those represent the cards in the drop-off's deck. So with the physical card game, you'd have a little deck of cards sitting on the drop-off that are these 5 cards. You could see the little diamond symbol, that is the resolution worth 3 points, and then you see lock symbols and other things we'll get into a little bit later what those mean. The back office on the top right, that's my starting location. So not all my cards, but a lot of my cards start in the back office. That's kind of where my cards regroup when a scene goes away. And then Thalassa, down at the bottom left, that is the crew's hideout. Okay, so John played down Rebel. Do you remember what all this does? And yeah, you can explain.
Yeah, so the basic thing here is that when I encounter things from the drop-off, when I try and pull off a heist on it, What's the languge you guys use
we
for
use
that?
Operatives and operations.
Gotcha. So when I begin an operation there, I'm going to have to do some stuff to get in. I don't just get to see a card for nothing and score points for nothing. And my operatives have these sorts of things on them. I think you can mouse over Rebel Henry, right?
Yes, we got in the skill points, right?
Rebel Henry has a couple locks on him. That means that if I put... I guess I can fill those locks, or what would you say there?
The skill points. Yeah,
I can add skill to Rebel Henley, which will make it so he can get past lock icons. So this guy in particular here is going to help me at the drop-off, because the drop-off is a scene that has 2 locks in the deck.
Yes. Perfect.
So it's totally possible that I don't need Rebel Henley's skill when I make an operation at the drop-off, but I'm sort of hedging against the possibility that I'm going to need to get through a lock. And if I recall correctly, locks prevent me from continuing.
Yeah, so the locks and the little eyeball guard symbol, they both have the same effect, which is just stopping the operation, or what's equivalent netrunner of ending the run. They both have that same effect. It's just they test a different skill. So Rebel doesn't help you. And then my actors, like the card that's there, tends to tax the eyeball skill more often than not, but not always. But they tend to tax the eyeball skill more often.
Yep. So I put down Rebel Henley, who I will in the future be using to try and make an operation attempt at a location, and then I drew a card. Okay,
great. Yeah, to answer Kelf's question, John is the crew, so they are similar to the runner and netrunner, and they're going into these scenes and making operations and trying to resolve the scene in their favor. And I am the mob, so I am exerting my influence over the scenes to control it and swing the resolution in my favor. So that's more similar to the corporation in netrunner. So just hit end turn.
Okay.
All right, so we'll go into the next turn.
I have to discard down to 5.
Yeah.
Oh god, I'm not going to give up a Yerba Mate.
You know that card is OP.
I need my Yerba.
Need the Yerbs.
It's economy. All right. I'm going to get rid of this card, a surprising twist. So not important. Go ahead.
Cool. All right, so a new scene pops up. So the game starts with 1 scene and eventually builds up to 3. And the more scenes there are, the more difficult it is for the mob to control it. So this one, I can kind of see it's similar to the first one, but it has 1 fewer lock, and it has 1 additional snag. And again, we'll talk about what those snags and locks do exactly once we kind of have an operation. But I'm feeling pretty good about this one. I'm going to put this resolution in there. Okay.
Yeah, and, so a way for you guys to think about this, too, is it's kind of like, as the game goes on, more and more servers or locations get generated, and it you have more stuff to protect as Brian's side of the board.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. We don't, the game doesn't really have the concept that Netrunner does of HQ and R&D and that type of thing. But these locations do appear and reappear. Like once a location's scored, it will go away, and then a new location will pop out. So the board's very fluid. And there's no agenda cards that the powers have. There's not an equivalent to that. They're in these center decks. They're into these location decks. It's kind of where the agendas are essentially. All right, so let's play on my turn. So I'm going to play this card, Durante de Firenze, and I'm sure I murdered that pronunciation, even though I've been to Florence. But anyway, I don't even know. I want this to basically. It's supposed to say Durante from Florence. Because, anyway. So this is an actor, and what it does is at the start of your turn, if Durante is in a scene where the crew did not attempt an operation last turn, add 2 influence to the office. So I'm going to move Durante over to the drop-off. And what I'm kind of saying here is Durante's just going to be at the drop-off, generating influence for me until John goes in there and attempts operations to kind of stop Durante.
Yeah, exactly. And if you remember, the influence at the office can be moved to the scene, which is what's going to allow Brian to secure those locations and score points.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I am going to do something a little bit different. I am going to play a complication. So I'll play the complication to this scene called Let's Have a Talk. Now, let me explain what complications do. There's 3 types of cards in each player's deck, and they're a little bit different for each side. So both players have people, which are called actors or operatives, but they're essentially the same thing. They can be moved around, they defend and attack. Both players have events, which I'm sure you can imagine what those do. Play them, they do something, they go away. And then both players have a third type of card. On the powers side, it's a complication. And the way this works is this is face down at the scene right now, so John he knows it's a complication, because it's kind of sideways on his screen, but he doesn't know exactly what the complication is. And the complication only happens if John draws one of these snag cards. So the snag card is a little question mark with a starburst symbol. So there's 2 of those in this Let's Have a Talk deck. So there's a decent chance that John draws my complication. And then the complication will trigger if he draws the snag. So its complication is defending the scene, but it's not a very good defense, but it will probably trigger. Anyway, that's not a great explanation, but
yeah, you can also think about them as like the number of question marks symbols in each scene is like the number of snares in that that deck.
Yeah,
they're like the bad things that are going to happen to me if I get them. If I draw one of the question mark cards, the complication cards out of the scene deck, and there isn't a complication at the scene, nothing will happen to me, right?
It'll reveal the top card of my deck, and if that card's a complication, it'll hit you.
Oh, that's right. Yep. But in general, it's much less reliable than putting down your own complication at the scene to ensure that there's like an effect that's going to fire off if I find one of those cards.
Okay, and then I'm just putting Jimmy down at this scene. And we'll talk about exactly what all this means once it happens. So we don't need to get into that yet. But that's the end of my turn. So go ahead and take another turn.
All right. What do we get here? I'm going to put down the sneak.
Great.
Whoa. Yeah, I'm going to spend an action to enhance the sneak, which I just did.
Oh, great. Okay. That's excellent that works so well.
So now the sneak's previous ability was I could discard a copy of the sneak. And then I would get an upgraded version of him.
Yes, which is fun, yeah.
So that's why he has no text box. But he's a pretty good deal. He has 3 total skill points on him, which is pretty good.
Yes.
And those skill points are not trivially easy to fill up. They involve me spending actions to fill them up. So he's got like a pretty big reserve of ability once he's ready to rock.
Yeah.
And then for my last action, let's see, I will add a skill point using Thalassa to the sneak.
Great.
Did I do it?
Yep.
I did.
So now the little 1 symbol on the sneak shows that the sneak has 1 guard skill point. We call it the guard skill point and the lock skill point. So the sneak can sneak by guards, you might imagine that.
Yep.
All right, so go ahead and end your turn. All right, now the last scene comes up. And this one doesn't have any need to kind of pick locks. It has no lock symbol built in, but it has the guard symbol on a lot of snags. So I'm going to pick a resolution, and it's my turn. Cool. So I'm going to definitely play a complication to watching the ponies here, this scene. So that is very likely to hit. There's 5 cards in the deck. 3 of them are snags, so welcoming committee looks good. I am going to... Oh, and also Durante triggered, because John did not make an operation at the drop-off, so I got some points there. So I'm going to go to this scene with the Dawn, and the Dawn has an ability, which is to move 1 influence from the office to the scene. So I'm going to start doing that. So I am going to do that, and I'm going to take 1 more influence. So in Netrunner, this is most similar to advancing an agenda. So I kind of just... To use Netrunner terms, I kind of advanced the agenda at this scene, but I've moved my influence to that scene, and that is the end of my turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so while there are a lot of we're sort of explaining it in Netrunner terms because there's a lot of Netrunner players watching.
Yeah.
But the game really plays nothing like Netrunner. In terms of just like, it's very, I'd say that like this game, it moves really fast compared to Netrunner, which is something I actually really like about it, is that it plays really punchy, and it has like this quality of time pressure that I think you get less often in a game like Netrunner. In this game, it really often feels like you got to get moving pretty quick to get stuff going. So I was just trying to point out that while we are using Netrunner as an analogy, the game is very different.
Yeah, it's definitely inspired by Netrunner, and but yeah, it's evolved into its own thing at this point, and shares some similarities from that, and shares similarities from other card games. But yeah. Oh, illegal play! What's going on?
I'm trying to play Yerba Mate.
Oh, interesting. So you probably have to assign it to the person you want. I'm trying to think what could be going on there.
Maybe. Oh, wait. No, I think I see it. I think if I click on it, they get a little border.
And then click the person you want it to be on?
No, and then I click the Yerba Mate. So let's do that. No, that's an illegal play.
Maybe Aki or Elif can chime in and help us figure out what's going on. But it's okay. Maybe you just don't play Yerba Mate.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Yerba Mate is such value, though.
I know, especially on your board right now. Yerba Mate is a South American tea that is highly caffeinated for tea. It's something that I drank for many, many years. Only recently have I stopped drinking Yerba Mate. It's coffee for people that don't like coffee. And it's something that a lot of our friends got into Yerba Mate over time. And so it's kind of our own little joke, our own little meme of putting Yerba Mate into the game.
All right. Well, what am I going to do? I will... Alright, that's my turn. Okay. I filled up some skill, I guess. Although, what's interesting is...
Did it play Yerba Mate, but not actually play it, Did you lose 3 actions on Yerba Mate?
I think so.
Okay, that's fine.
It's fine, whatever, go ahead.
Yeah. I'll burn some actions to kind of equal that out a bit. Okay.
I'll just stop clicking Yerba Mate.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, I didn't mean to do that, but I did. Oh, boy. Okay, that didn't work out the way I wanted, but that's fine. Okay. Playing suboptimally. So,
no, the Yerba
Mate popped in. Interesting, okay.
So, when how do I carry Yerba Mate?
By the way, there's a serious possibility that Aki is just in the back end fixing the game for us as we're playing it. Are
they that good at this?
Knowing Aki, that could be happening right now. I don't know if it is, but
there's a literal hacker fixing our game.
Yeah, probably. So you just click on Yerba Mate and then click on the person is how I'm guessing. So let me explain. So Yerba Mate is an item. So items are equipped to operatives, and you can move them around basically. Yeah, Aki's trying to fix it. There we go. So now, hey, Aki, if you can, put another token on Yerba Mate for John. I love it. But don't break the game if that's going to happen. Yeah, so now basically the sneak is carrying the Yerba Mate. And Yerba Mate says put 6 counters on Yerba Mate. Hey, don't worry about it, Wes. No big deal. Place 6 counters on Yerba Mate when you play. At the start of your turn, remove 1 counter to fill a skill point on Yerba Mate's carrier. So it's basically caffeine that the sneak is drinking to fill up their skill.
Okay.
Long story short.
All right, well, I'm gonna try to do something exciting.
Cool.
So I have 5 actions.
Yeah.
So my first action, I'll put some skill on Rebel Henley. My second action, I'll play 1, 2, 3, go.
Sweet.
And what that does is it lets me move my actors to a scene.
I'm not sure how that resolves. Does it make sense? Did it kind of...
It moved 1, but it didn't move the rest.
Do you have to click on it to move it? Or is that just going to execute
3 crew cards to a single scene.
Well, it's okay. Just move the sneak manually. Or just spend an action to do it. Yeah, John was joking before we started. Has this been tested at all? And I was like, not really. Aki has tested it, but this is literally the first time I'm playing it. Because I only learned that this existed like less than a week ago, I think.
All right, so I've chosen another one, but it's not moving it to the scene.
Do you have to just click on the scene?
You just click on the scene, maybe?
Yeah, it's waiting for you to choose another one, Aki is saying.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to... Whoa. Oh, I'm doing...
Oh, no!
Okay, so apparently we're just going. All right, so when I clicked on the scene, it was like, cool.
Okay, so let me explain what's going on here, just because... okay, so ignoring the kind of weirdness, system, trying to figure out the system stuff, what just happened here is John started an operation. So when you start an operation, the actors at the scene flip over and do something. So that first we see the bouncer here. So now from John's point of view, the bouncer just flipped over, and now the bouncer is doing something. So what the bouncer says is, at the start of an operation here, the crew returns an operative here to their hand. So it bounces the card, as you might expect.
Wow.
Now,
So I can't avert it.
Yeah, let me kind of get to this. So this symbology here, on the bouncer card, the little eyeball symbol with the lines indicates that you can avert this effect. You can prevent this effect from happening by spending that skill on an operative at the scene. So, and John was setting up for this play because John was trying to put the sneak into the scene. So if the sneak were here, the sneak could spend a skill to avert the bouncer's effect and sneak in and go pull a card. So, yeah, I think it's on your end. I think you probably click on the bouncer, maybe? Go ahead and do that.
I have clicked on the bouncer, but I'm scared to click again.
Well, I think it's going to bounce the card, but we'll just fix it. I'll just end my next turn, and you can have another turn or whatever.
It's not letting me move through here.
Oh, okay.
There's the button. It says "Don't avert."
Yeah.
And the "Don't avert" button.
Yeah, click "Don't avert." It's going to bounce it, but that's okay.
I have clicked this button.
Oh, really?
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay.
So let's just give it 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And see if it bounces my guy.
Yeah. And also what we can do is we can just restart the game and go fresh. It's also fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, what would happen here with the sneak is the sneak would spend one of the two skills, so it would go down to one skill, and then would get to pull one of the 5 cards there. And if John's lucky, there's a 1 in 5 to pull the resolution to score 3 points.
Yep.
Alright, I'm going to refresh my browser and see what happens. Oh, just refresh your browser.
Oh.
Okay, so I think Aki is just fixing our game state as we're playing.
All right, great.
So now go ahead and start the operation, because I think we're at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have 2 actions.
Yeah.
If I click the drop off, is that how I start it?
I believe so. Yeah.
I'm scared to click things.
You should be okay. Go for it.
All right. Whoa.
Okay.
There's a snag in the operation.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't know what just happened. So
you're gonna draw a card that I think did something.
So I know half of what just happened here, and thanks for sticking with us, everyone watching out there. We're also kind of figuring out a few maybe bugs in the system or whatever. But what just happened is John started the operation. I think spent a skill to prevent the bouncer from triggering. And then revealed the top card of my deck because this is so hard to explain in this format. I'm used to explain this game when it's just on a table in paper, so I'm trying to adapt my explanation.
Yeah, so an easy way of saying it is that sort of sideways card on the table that Brian put down, the complication card, there wasn't one of those in play.
Yes.
At the drop-off.
Correct.
But if I hit a snag, it doesn't matter if there wasn't one in play. Brian gets to reveal the top card of his deck, and if that card's a snag, it still fires.
Which, in this case, it wasn't. It was just another copy of the bouncer.
Yeah.
Which it would need to say, when discovered, do a thing. So the bouncer doesn't do anything when discovered. So John knows the bouncer is coming up, but beyond that, no real harm. Now, I'm not sure why you lost... Is the sneak in your hand?
He is, but it's fine. I'll just play him.
Okay. Yeah, I think there was something weird going on there where it should have allowed you to avert the bouncer's effect. Something like that.
Okay.
Anyway.
Let's see. I have 2 actions left.
Yeah.
It won't let me play cards. Oh, let me try and refresh it because that worked before.
So what the bad cards do in this? Yeah, that's fine. We'll create a new game. So Aki,
Okay.
just tell us when you're ready, and we'll create a new game. And I'll just kind of explain some more things about the game as we're waiting. So the sort of bad cards in the deck, like using the drop off as an example here, or better yet, let's go to Let's Have a Talk. So you can see there's 4 symbols on the card, which are replicated right underneath the card on the right side of the screen. So there's the eyeball, the lock, 2 question marks, and the diamond. So the eyeball and the lock do the same thing. If John pulls those cards, John has the opportunity to avert those effects if he has those skill points on cards in play at that location. So let's say John hypothetically drew the lock card. John could use skill points on Rebel, and that card would just go away and nothing would happen. Now, if John doesn't have the skill or doesn't spend the skill, that lock will basically attach to the scene, and then it stops John from going into that scene and doing more operations until John has that skill to stop the card. So that's what those 2 symbols do. The snag symbol, we've kind of explained, but basically what happens is it reveals the complication at the scene. It discovers the complication at the scene. So, as an example, this one's pretty straightforward. Welcoming committee. So when discovered, so if a snag is pulled from this scene, it reveals this welcoming committee, and it says when discovered, raise the threat level by 1. I'll explain that in a second. The threat level will go up by 1. And if it's a private scene, which this is not, this is a public scene, we could see it's a little bit small, but it says public, the green text underneath the title of this card. But if this was a private scene, I'd also get to trash an operative there. And then welcoming committee goes away. All the like a lot of the effects in the game on the power side, on the mob side, can be averted, and that's what those little lines mean with the little eyeball symbol on the welcoming committee. Is you can avert that effect if you have that skill point. So that's somewhat similar to subroutines in Netrunner, to give you an idea. That's totally fine, Aki. We'll just reset it. Yeah, so let's talk about the threat, and then I think we're good to restart. So this is the last kind of mechanic in the game that I haven't described yet. These stars at the top left of the screen, you can kind of think of these as the stars in Grand Theft Auto. This is kind of like the wanted level of the crew. We call it threat. It's how threatened the crew is. So at the start of the game, there's no threat on the crew. The crew is basically invisible to the powers. The powers are just doing their thing, and as the crew collects threat, it becomes more risky for them. There is a built-in action for threat, but we won't get into that unless it comes up. And the other thing that threat can do is there's certain cards. I don't know if I have any in my hand, but there's certain cards that trigger when you have X amount of threat. So there's one in particular that I think it's 4 threat. You get to trash an operative, things like that. Okay, so I'm gonna restart the game. All right, John. So go back to the first URL I gave you. So it should be restarted.
Okay.
All right, so we'll get into it. So we'll move a little bit quicker here. So the scene, I'm putting a resolution into the deck, drawing a card, and then it's my turn.
Let me trying to find the link here.
Okay, sure.
I got it.
Cool. All right, so this card's great. This card, fast forward, I spend 3 and I get 7 influence in my office. And the influence are basically like my economy that I'm using to score my cards. So I need to build up influence. Get 7 off the start is fantastic. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of defense on this scene, and that is my turn.
All right, cool. When I play an item, can I play it without there being an operative?
You should be able to, yeah.
Okay.
It'll just sit in your hideout, and then later on you can equip it.
All right, so...
Illegal play.
Illegal play.
Oh, no.
It's not happy. Draw.
You might just avoid items, to be honest, for now.
Yeah, okay, so just refresh your browser.
Yeah.
There's the Armada in play now.
Okay,
but this
cool.
might break the game again.
Yeah.
I'll just draw again.
Okay.
And then I'll end my turn. I'm not going to get rid of I have a Maker's Eye. I'm not going to get rid of that.
No, you need that.
Yeah. I'll discard this, and I'll discard False Alarm. Back to you.
So put in a new scene up, This one has a lot of eyeball symbols. And draw my card. Okay, so I am going to... I'm basically... This is not a great play. Okay, it's fine. I think I can do this. I will move the Dawn. I'm going to use the Dawn to put a couple influence on this scene, so I'm building up towards a score. And I have one action left, so when in doubt, I'm just going to put more influence on my office. So I have 6 influence now.
Yeah, so there is no equivalent of like credits, I'd say,
right,
in this game. It's not like there's no like one universal currency that you can spend on anything.
Right.
But you do each have 5 actions, and cards cost actions to play.
Yes.
And then the powers have this concept called influence, which is used to be added to scenes so that they can resolve those scenes. And then the crew can add skill to its characters called actors, right?
Your operatives, yeah.
Yeah, called operatives, and they need skill to like bypass the defenses of the powers.
Yeah. Yep.
So there are 2 resources, more or less.
Yeah, that perfectly explains it.
Well, I'm gonna draw a card. I'll play Pretty Face.
Perfect.
Then I will move Pretty Face, and I'll attempt an operation.
Okay. Did it let you do it?
Well, I clicked Pretty Face, and then I clicked something in the air ducts.
Oh, okay. So if you clicked Pretty Face, you're using Pretty Face's ability, probably.
Oh.
That's fine. Just use
fine.
So Pretty Face has an ability, which is move Pretty Face and an actor at the scene to another scene. So Pretty Face is very attractive, and the actors are my people, basically, will follow Pretty Face around.
Yep, all good.
Yeah. Okay. So
I was gonna attempt like an old 1 in 5 and see if I get in.
Yeah. You wouldn't have, so it's good that you didn't. But.
Wow, get wrecked.
Oh, cool.
Brian talking trash.
Yeah. So okay, now this is a cool play, because I get to teach John a lesson here about going into the air ducts. So the air ducts is a private scene. This private public scene thing is important. It's not. It's like the mob cares a lot about scenes being public and private. The other factions don't care as much. But the mob is very all about their privacy. So this scene is private. John is here with Pretty Face. So I'm going to play Take the Cannoli.
Oh, God, he's going to take the cannoli.
Your cannoli's gone. So choose a private location, and at that location, trash an operative.
Oh, my God. And I could avert it if I had an eyeball symbol.
So you don't have the eyeball symbol, so I think you
won't avert it then.
And then I choose someone here to trash. So now Pretty Face is gone.
That's my only operative, you monster.
Oh, okay. So Aki did tell me this, and I didn't think of it. I'm only playing this side. I'm not seeing it from your point of view, but you do have to double click on a scene to start an operation.
Okay, that is helpful.
Okay. So I have 2 actions left on my turn. So I think it's pretty safe to continue to put my influence here, and I'm just gonna take some more influence on my back office. So there are economy cards in the card. I mean, economy is a weird way to put it, but there are cards that help you get influence, and there's cards that help you get skill. But when in doubt, you just kind of have to spend actions to get the influence and the skill.
I just drew a ton of cards for my turn.
Cool.
And then I'm going to end my turn.
Are you just not drawing operatives? Is that your problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is kind of like not drawing. Like, it's, I don't know what the equivalent is, but yeah.
Yeah.
I need some operatives. I think my deck is probably mostly operatives.
Yeah.
So I'm just a little unlucky.
Yeah, you do have a lot of operatives, so.
All right.
Cool. So, I think this turn I'm definitely going to score this out. So I have to put 4 more influence on the scene. At that point, I can score it. So this scene is basically gone now. It stays on the table for logistical reasons, but I've scored the 4 points that were there. So now I'm up 4-0, and we played a 10. So I'm about halfway there. I only have one action left. It seems worthwhile to put a complication at Let's Have a Talk, to put some basic defenses there. And end my turn. And this complication, again, to remind folks, this is a special type of card that will only trigger if John pulls one of the snags at the scene. And the snags are the 2 question mark cards at the scene.
All right, I played Rebel Henley and drew a card.
Great. Okay. Okay. So... Okay. So now it is my turn. I really need to get some more influence, but don't have influence. So I am going to draw a card. Oh, that one's really good. Alright, I'm just going to make this a nightmare for you. So I'm going to put a complication at this scene. And 2 actions left. I'm just going to take some more influence. Back to you.
Okay.
So I have to discard. Okay, let's discard 1 copy of this. That's fine. Alright.
Alright, I'll play Garland.
Okay. Make sure you equip the yerba mate before your turn ends.
Okay, yerba.
Yeah.
That doesn't cost an action to equip it?
Correct, yeah. You just have to be there.
Okay.
So now Garland has some yerba mate equipped.
Cool. Go ahead.
Perfect. All right. So you're kind of set up now. Okay. Put this there. All right. Now I'm kind of having a bit of an issue here, but that's fine. I'll put here. I will 6. Okay. Get ready to score again. So the Dawn is kind of we call it a boss. So each of the factions have a boss. They all work the same way. They start in play, so the Dawn doesn't have a play cost, and the Dawn is just responsible for putting influence onto a scene. The mob, if I'm remembering correctly, which I think I am, the only way to put influence on the scene is with the Dawn. The Society faction, they have quite a few ways to put influence on a scene. They have some cards that sacrifice themselves. They have an event that puts influence on a scene. So, yeah, but the mob, it's all about just using your Dawn to put influence on a scene. Okay, so now we're playing 1, 2, 3, go. So move up to 3 crew cards to a single scene.
I don't think it...
Yeah, I'm not sure how this... Maybe you just click your cards that you want to move. I think you click Garland and Rebel, and then... Maybe that's it?
Alright, no. They're all there now, if you refresh.
Oh, okay. Cool, yeah, you're right. Alright, then you double-click the scene to start the operation.
Oh, God.
Wait, oh, so you started the operation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, let me refresh the browser. Is something weird going on? Oh, no, okay, that was a little bit weird. It should have given you the opportunity to avert the effect, but I'm guessing it didn't.
It did not.
Okay, so what should have happened there, and the URL for this literally starts with the word alpha, so this is definitely in the alpha stages. Just to further clarify for folks, there are a few bugs, but it does generally work. But what happened there is, it says on this card here, on the cop on a take card, at the end of the operation here, move all operatives here to the hideout. So they see the cop and they have to go back. Now, it also says at the start of the operation here, stop the operation. So that happened, but it should have given John an opportunity to kind of avert that effect, which it didn't. But
yeah.
Anyway, we're getting the idea of what's going on here, at least.
Yeah. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Cop on the take is brutal, though.
Yeah. So what you can do, just so we can set up an operation next turn so people can see, just move Garland to Wet Towel.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, and then end your turn. So I'm not going to do anything there, and next turn you can do an operation there, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Did you end your turn?
I believe so.
Let me refresh.
I don't think it's letting me.
Oh, no? Do you have to discard?
Nope.
Huh.
Things just broke.
Okay, so Aki says, so 1, 2, 3, go seems to be a big old problem.
Yeah, I think it broke the game again.
That's fine. This was a little bit of a demo, a little bit of playtesting QA, and a little bit of just sort of trying to demonstrate the game.
And a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. But I think that gives people a decent idea of what the game's about, sort of how it is to play. And in addition, I guess I'll say we don't have exact plans of how we're going to approach this web version of it, what's going to happen with it, but we want to do something. And what I'll say is, if you leave me a message, either on the Kickstarter campaign, you can message the Kickstarter campaign organizer, and that'll come to me. Or even if you're a Netrunner player, even in Stim Hack Slack, I'm Murphy there. So if you message me on either of those platforms or on Twitter, whatever, just message me with your email address. I will add you to a list of people that will eventually get access to this, probably, and that's kind of how we're approaching it for the time being. Still very early on, and we're not sure exactly what we're going to do with this, but it is pretty cool to be able to play this on the web.
Yeah, no, it's super sweet that it even is this good.
Yeah, no, there's just like slight bugs, which is going to happen in any project like this, but otherwise it does work pretty well. So, yeah. Anyway, I think we're going to end the one last job segment at this point. The last thing I'll say is the Kickstarter's still up. We can see a little bit of artwork here. I should feature the artwork more, but I just forget to. So we do have quite a few artwork commissioned already, and a lot more to come. Give you some flavor here, and yeah, so go check out the campaign. It's One Last Job on Kickstarter. Yeah, hopefully get this funded. We see what we can do. We have 4 days left, and the last week is a big. You usually get a big boost in the last week, so hopefully we'll have some luck. And yeah, so I think we'll move on to some Netrunner stuff now.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm just going to use the restroom real quick if that's okay.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about nationals and whatnot while you're doing that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so let's go into that. So John and I just got back from Seattle. Let me see if I can bring it up. And we went there for the Netrunner Nationals, the 2018 US Nationals. Hey, Net Jogging. And a ton of people were there. It was 60. Well, let me look it up. How many people were in that tournament? 61 people were in that tournament. We went up with, I think there was roughly 10, 11 of us in sort of our Bay Area play group. So Andrew was there, Aki was there, John was there, Wes was there, all these people. Hey, Acid, you just missed the whole. We have a whole demo of One Last Job, but you can go back in the archives and watch that later. And yeah, anyway, so we're going into some Netrunner stuff now. So yeah, this big national tournament. John won this tournament last year and placed top 8 this year. And it's a super fun tournament. It's great to be in Seattle. The whole thing was streamed by Dodge Pong, so you go check that out. A lot of great games on there. Yeah, and Patrick from San Diego won it, and our buddy Pete, Bay Area player, came in second. Some very good play from everyone. And so I figured we'll talk a little bit about that, talk about our decks, and then we'll probably just go into a Jinteki game and sort of play a game, maybe with a deck from Nationals, or maybe just build something that we feel like building. So that's kind of the plan for the rest of the night. Cortez is clicking for credits tonight. So he's in the middle of a move, so he's literally moving right now. And we'll be back next week with the usual scheduled program. or maybe the week after, because next week is 4th of July and it's pretty busy, so I don't know if we'll get to it next week. But the week after, I think we want to go into Roseville Part 4. The final pack of Roseville will be happening in, I believe, 2 weeks from tonight. And that's going to be a big pack because we get to finish off Exodia, which is the Olive Garden cycle, and another Melt card. We have, I think, 2 more IDs to create for that pack, and finish out the cycle for the cube that's going to be at Worlds. Was anybody in chat at Nationals? Let me know. So I played, let's show one of the decks I played. I played this Val deck that John wrote up here, and I played a Scorpios deck. So John, I was just starting to go into decks. Do you want to talk about this Val deck a little bit?
Oh, the Val deck we played?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this Val deck's insane. Sickest deck ever.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's really fun. Leading up to Nationals, everyone was like, "Oh, the San Francisco people have like a combo."
Yeah.
Everyone was like, and we were propagating it too. We were leaning into it pretty hard. We're like, "Oh yeah, we have like a sick combo. Like we have the tech."
Why would people think that though? I don't get that. Why would they think that?
Yeah, why would they think that San Francisco players have some sort of combo deck? That doesn't make any sense. We've never done. But anyway, so everyone thought this for some reason, and what happened is when we leaned into it, and then the joke is that the combo is 0 and I've had worse.
I was saying the combo is 3 copies of each breaker.
Yeah, that's
than
a really
2.
good combo too.
Yeah, yeah.
So the cool thing about this deck is that it does basically the same thing every game. It's very consistent. Mm-hmm. A lot of Manarch decks have a lot of different tech cards, have a lot of different, effects that are like reliant on having specific cards in your hand. Like a good, like classic one is like Career Fair, right?
Right.
But we kind of, when 0 came out, we kind of just decided to build the deck around always hitting 0 and not having to worry about it. So we ended up with this list that has a very reliable suite of cards that are either all the stuff that you'd worry about hitting with 0. You shouldn't be that worried because you have multiple copies of there in your deck, and they're all fairly cheap to play or install. So, before you hit 0, maybe you play your Strike. Before you hit 0, you put down Find the Truth, whatever. But you're basically always going to have a hand that you're going to be able to, press 0 and draw 2 cards and gain a credit with. So that was kind of the first big thing of the deck. Right. And the second thing is the only times we were really losing was when we couldn't find icebreakers, or when Scorp removed all our paper clips or something. So that's where we kind of decided to play the 9 icebreakers.
This year, very much the sort of deck building process that we went through, especially on the Corp side, but even on the Runner side, felt very much of how do I not lose this game? That's where my head always was when I was working on that Scorp deck or with the Val deck, of being what do we do with this? We had 2 influence we were trying to figure out for a long time. It's just how do we make sure we don't lose? What is the card you play? And so the 3x of each breaker totally plays into that. And to go back to what John was saying about 0, of all the cards in your hand, nothing's in particular, important in particular. So, am I saying that right? You know what I mean? Yeah. A good example of that is I'd have a lot of turns where I have a sure gamble in hand and I click 0. And the reason is in that sort of flow of the game, I want cards more than I want money. The click to play sure gamble isn't as important as me drawing 2 cards. So the risk of losing sure gamble isn't there because it's worth losing because that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally agree with your assessment on that. I jumped into this list pretty early on because, you just said Val was real good, and I trusted you, and I like Val, and this just seemed like my type of normie deck that I like to play,
Yeah, it is the most normie Anarch deck. It's so normie that it has 9 icebreakers in it.
Yeah, so I think what we should talk about is, Net Jogging brings up Ice Carver, and the obvious thing is Clan Vengeance. Why did we decide not to play those?
So the main thing is that this is not a control deck. We're not really interested in putting together some combo or, waiting to have this card on the board that theoretically pays us off in the future or something like that. You basically want to be running every turn of the game starting on turn 3. Would you say that's about fair, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the goal of the deck is really built around constant pressure on every server. when you're pressuring every server, the 3 cost to install Clan Vengeance is just slow. It's very awkward. It doesn't actually contribute to your win condition, which is getting accesses. So in that regard, this particular list, I just don't really think there's a place for Clan Vengeance in it because it's very expensive to install at very little benefit to you, because what you want to be doing is running a lot, not like camping their HQ and waiting to get, hit cards out of their hand. The cards in their hand don't really matter to you. What matters to you is putting together Find the Truth, Turning Wheel, RNG Key, and running every single turn until they lose.
Yeah. I think it's very well said. It really feels like an old style criminal deck to me, where it's sort of on the run economy. It's definitely not as extreme a run economy as criminal used to have, but it's definitely on this sort of run economy, and just you're not multi-accessing as much as you're just getting a lot of accesses, and then you virtually multi-access through Find the Truth by running on HQ or something. But
yeah, and I think maybe if you were playing, indexing and maybe some of these other cards like Mad Dash or something, Clan Vengeance gets a little more appealing because then you have like some sort of like more control-y game plan than this Val deck does. But I guess we kind of always felt like you just face check everything they put down, you make them res it, and then you have perfect information about their board, and then you're able to sort of always run whatever server is the weakest at every point of the game. And if you're doing that, you're getting paid out like a crazy amount of money, because I don't know. I think at some point I was just like, oh yeah, if you don't run, you like wasted a credit because you didn't use your bad publicity.
Oh yeah.
So it's like,
that was also very good with Wayland being so prevalent, is they give you more bad publicity. It's just interesting how that meta developed. And I also wanted to mention this, like, we had 2 spare influence for a long time. The Maxwell influence, for a while we were not on Maxwell. Like, Career Fair was in the deck, and then I was into Career Fair, but you made the great point, before I'd really played the deck with Zero, that Zero's going to knock Career Fair out of your hand. There's not that many targets for Career Fair in this deck. There's really like Daily Cast, Liberated, and then Turning Wheel maybe. So the chances of that dependency lining up before Zero gets you the card that you depend on is unlikely. So Career Fair doesn't work. And then it was, what were you playing as influence before Maxwell?
We did a bunch of different things with them. Right. I think I had a Diesel.
Diesel, that's right. You had a Diesel, yeah.
Yeah, I was playing a Diesel for a long time over the Maxwells, largely just because the only way you usually lose is when you can't get accesses fast enough.
Right.
And this is like a very different sort of take on this, right? But Corps get pretty bad draws not unfrequently in this format.
No
and
Jackson,
one of the ways you can't, and one of the ways you can't punish those draws is if you can't run. So a big part of the thinking here was like, Maxwell rewards you for doing the thing that you're already going to do, which is run, because you're going to run a central every turn of the game. And then it also is itself an economy card that you can install ahead of time and not worry about getting knocked out of your hand.
Yeah, and like things like IP block, it becomes relevant. With bad pub, you get to the point where you don't have to like spend money on those traces with Maxwell. Rebirth Omar gives you another way to trigger Maxwell. So there's a lot of synergy with that. And obviously, Maxwell is just clearly a very, very good card that should be in almost every runner deck. So why not play it here too? And I don't think anything in particular about this deck we would even claim that much ownership over. It's just kind of how it all comes together. And I do really I think this is a small innovation. If there's an innovation here, it's 3 of each breaker, which seems really dumb, but I think this was the best Val deck at Nats. I truly believe that, and I think the 3x of each breaker. Also, we were joking, is that Inject, it just becomes more economy for you.
Yeah, your Inject is actually an economy card a lot of the time. It's really funny.
I never played Inject without getting at least one program milled,
Yeah, exactly. Because your deck is like your deck's like 14 out of 50 cards are programs, so it's just how it goes. And it's funny because I think a lot of people are tempted to play stuff like Retrieval Run or whatever to make sure they can get back a Data Sucker or an RNG key.
Right.
But this deck's very much just about playing the odds, where it's just like whatever. Sometimes you mill both data suckers, and that's not the best, but you're probably going to win anyway as long as you're able to run for the whole game.
I definitely had a lot of games where I would mill both RNG keys, but then I would have a data sucker, or like if I mill the data suckers, I have an RNG key. It's just you don't need to have the full combo to win. You just need some number of those cards. It's fine if you don't have Find the Truth. If like you zero your Find the Truths or whatever, or PU hits one of them. Or just play RNG. You're getting a lot of accesses. So I had one play where I knew that the Corp had a 4-cost MCA informant in hand, and then some other card, and I had a bunch of turning wheel, so I just used a couple of them to guarantee that I would hit the what's it called, the MCA informant, ignoring the fact that I need to hit it first, and it didn't matter. But anyway.
Yeah, and again, like the only reason we weren't playing stuff like Ice Carver and Clan Vengeance is that it is antithetical to running every turn. Like Ice Carver is good when you can get it down, but if you draw it early, it's just going to get hit by 0. You know?
Yeah, you don't want to spend zero takes time to build up, like where you really have economy going and you have the right cards, and you don't want to be stuck with putting Ice Carver down early. It's just not going to give you the value.
Yeah, and when you have cards like Clan Vengeance, you have like 6 to 10 credits, and you put down a Clan Vengeance, it's a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, you don't really have time to do that most of the time. Like, Corp decks are very aggressive, so you have to be aggressive too.
So a couple of people brought this up. I forget the Divide and Conquer, right? So Divide and Conquer is a new card in Reign and Reverie. Let me look it up. Do you want to talk about how Divide and Conquer fits into this, maybe? Do you remember that one?
Oh, is it?
You access 2 cards from the Centrals.
No, you access 1 from HQ, 1 from R&D, and then you use Turning Wheel and you access them all.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, how would you fit that into this deck right now? I mean, there's probably other things to consider with Reign and Reverie, but if you were just going to put that card in, what would you cut?
It's hard. It's hard to fit in this deck because you want to hit 0 every turn.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, so you're holding on to this sort of combo piece, and yeah, 0.
So I think what you do with this deck going forward is you remove all 3 Mining Accident for all 3 Guinea Pig.
Okay.
So Guinea Pig is a 4-to-play event, and you trash your grip and gain 10, so you gain 6. But the thing is with this deck is that you're hitting 0 every turn and you're running all the time, and once you have a bunch of stuff, you don't really need more stuff a lot of the time. The only thing you really want to draw is more economy, so you often have these hands that have like 3 more icebreakers in them just because you're drawing so many cards and you have 9 icebreakers. And Guinea Pig just turns your hand into money, which your hand's worthless anyway. It's just cards that you get hit by 0.
It'd be interesting to try, because even though the deck's designed around 0, I imagine there would be awkward times to play Guinea Pig. We're like you really need to play it. You need the money, but at the same time, it's like, so you need 4 credits to play Guinea Pig, and you need like 2 credits to put down Turning Wheel, but you only have 4 credits. Just like it starts to get awkward, maybe, but maybe it works out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Gustavo, we're kind of talking new box a little bit.
Yeah, we're just talking about the decks we played and stuff like that.
Do we want to go into Corpse a bit?
Yeah, sure. You can talk about your Scorp deck.
All right, let's talk about Heavy Horses a bit. This deck's pretty cool. I think it's very good. My only loss at Nats with this deck was when the runner scored 6 points off of deep data mining.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
I think this is a really good story. My second round, this deck has a good amount of ice, but sometimes, Netrunner decks, Corp decks, I didn't draw enough ice, whatever. I put a Mouseless on HQ, and was like, R&D usually doesn't give up agendas in this deck. It's usually pretty good. And the runner spends their first turn accessing R&D, and by click 3, they had 6 points.
Yep.
By click 3
Which
of the
is
game.
usually GG for Scorp, right?
No, yeah, for many Corps that would be bad, but for Scorp, it's not good. Yeah. Anyway, that happened, and I was like, oh cool, let's see what we can do with this. I came back and won that game.
Yeah. Somehow.
It was Tithonium and R&D, and Batty behind it, and my opponent ran with like a full board with a turtle, maybe like a RNG Cure Data Sucker, and then with, I think, MK, Batty hit. Literally every card on the board went away because it hit all 3 programs, and they had a Turning Wheel with like 4 counters on it. So I apocalypsed them with Batty and Tithonium.
Yeah, Titanium's insane. I'm so shocked that there was only one in that list that won. It seems like it's just an auto 3 of, at least to me.
Tithonium? No, yeah. Yeah, Patrick, was it Patrick? Yeah, Patrick
I think his
played
name's
Scorp.
Patrick, yeah.
You know, but Patrick's Scorp deck was very different from this, and I think Sam put it put it in a good way on stream, in that this Scorp deck is much more controlling. Like, definitely, this can play a rush game, and I've played rush games with this Scorp deck, but Patrick's Scorp deck was designed to just be all in on rush. The 1x of Tithonium is very strange to me, but I can't argue with results. And yeah, so people mentioned it, but Trojan Horse, this card is extremely good. I don't know if a lot of people are playing it. There was one Scorp deck about 2 months ago or a month and a half ago that went up on Netrunner DB called Real Death. Let me look up this deck.
It's so awkward.
I really like this. So the deck is called Real Death. What is the name of that Netflix show? Someone post a Netflix show. Someone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Here we go. Wayland Scorpius, Real Death. I really like this write-up. So the idea is you real death their breakers. There's a Netflix show where it's a sci-fi show, and people don't die unless you like shoot at their cortical stack. And that in the show, which is a sci-fi show, they call that real death, because death doesn't exist anymore unless you kill altered carbon. Thank you. So now we say if you remove their breaker from the game, you real death their breaker.
Yeah, you real death it.
Yeah, and if you flatline the runner, you real death them. So that's all Lunch Money. Lunch Money came up with that meme, and I absolutely love it. I don't understand Lunch Money's deck. Like, I don't get what this deck is doing at all.
No, I don't think the deck makes any sense.
No,
but
it's cool. Like, it has a psychic
for sure.
field, and like that's cool. But yeah, the term I really like. So anyway, Trojan Horse is extremely good. I think Scorp players should seriously consider that card. It fires a lot. At one point I spent 24 credits to use Trojan Horse to trash like an MK, and it was the right play. It was very good.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, that's why I call it heavy horses.
Yeah, and when you have all these decks running around with 2 of each breaker, Scorp is so well positioned. And that was like just going back to the Val deck. Like, 9 breakers. I played Scorp twice, and those were not close games.
The first game I played at Nats, Arc Lockdown, I played it 4 times.
Yeah. There's this thing people do where they're like, play Employee Strike, play Inject.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't do that. You cannot put them in the discard pile.
No, I absolutely love it, because then you also just don't res whatever ice allows them to bring. I've played Arc Lockdown to hit 2 copies of Black Orchestra multiple times.
Yeah. They're not safe there. They're just not.
Yeah, but this deck again, this is like, it's not like super spicy, and it also like the number one. I mentioned it here, but the only pro tip with this deck is you got to let the agenda stew. Your R&D, and sorry, the remote server is your strongest server. You put 1 or 2 baddies in the remote, you just stew agendas in there. And what I mean is you put agendas in there, you don't advance them, you wait 3 turns to advance them, you advance them 3 times, you advance them up to 4 when you have the 2 spare clicks, you take 2 credits. Like, you let the agenda stew because it's your safest server. A good runner will not risk an early run on that remote because they know that remote is real death for them.
Yeah, you don't want to get real death. And yeah, I think that's actually a theme of me for the weekend too, playing Polana, is I had a lot of alternate scoring patterns, like more so than I would expected.
Yeah, let's talk about your Polana. Let me go pull it up here. Find it on deck list probably. Oh, cool. Pete's Jukebox decks is currently like the top deck on the list.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, here's Scorpio Town. This is Patrick Scorpios. Yeah, very very different build, but it has baddie lockdown. Like influence is very similar. 300. Yeah, it's interesting. 2 fast tracks, so you can see where it's a lot more rushy. Yeah, I haven't played this one yet myself, but in 1 Corporate Town, which almost ruined Pete. Corporate Town got rezzed on Pete as Geist.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. Okay. What did you name your deck? Has scoring Nisei early usually means you win the game. Can you explain that title?
Yeah. So when you're playing a game of Netrunner, and you manage to score the agenda Nisei Mark II, your win rate goes up dramatically. That is what the title means.
So you said Paul was saying that on the Friday night?
Yeah.
So our buddy Paul went up with us, and people aren't getting any sleep And at some point, Paul said exactly what you said. It's a great comment. It's like, you cannot be argued with. It's perfect.
No, it's flawless logic, and it's true. Like it's
totally
it's kind of like saying water's wet in a way, but
yeah.
like it's very good when you score an Nisei Mark II. So we kind of built the deck to be better at that. I guess some of the unique things in the deck, we have Envelope, which I think is better than Kakugo if you're not playing Obokata.
Oh yeah, explain this envelope idea. Explain that. Just expand on that idea more, because I think it's really interesting.
Yeah. So the thing with Envelope is that it has 3 strength and 2 subs. So it costs 2 for Paperclip to break rather than 1. So that's the first thing. So it does cost something. The other thing is you can't bounce off it with the turning wheel.
Hugely, massively important.
Yeah, so that's really, really important because basically in most games, if they're able to farm wheel against you, the game's over. You just lose the instant they can because they're going to do it till they have like 14 counters and then end the game. So that was part of it. So all the ice in this deck is good against the turning wheel. And then the more evolved part of the deck, I guess you would say, is that we switched from Obokata to Global Food so that we could... Because the thing we sort of realized in testing is when you're playing against really good players, they always can steal the Obokata. You like can't really stop them from taking the Obokata from you. So that makes GFI basically just better because it makes it so they have to score half your agendas to win the game. So that was the idea in playing Global Food. And then if you're playing Global Food, you can play Surveyor instead of the Data Loops, and they're the same influence. You can fit the Surveyors in the deck. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows at this point that Surveyor is a very good Netrunner card.
Yeah, it completely shaped the Nats meta. Completely.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was thinking about Surveyor, it just completely controlled things.
Yep. So Surveyor was a big part of that. And then some of the other ice I think is pretty typical. Like Excalibur is really good with the Nisei token.
Score Nisei
So lets you like kind of cheat out your last agenda sometimes.
Yeah.
Mirage was kind of like a late include. It's really nice when it fires.
Was it you or Wes who somewhat regretted? Wasn't there a game where one of you two almost lost because of Mirage?
That was me. That was against Joe from Seattle. He's like used to be a local Bay Area player.
Yeah, Joe's
but
really
he got 4 unique accesses on R&D because I had a Mirage rezzed on R&D.
Yeah, because you have to shuffle the deck. It's required.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a bummer.
And then why Crick?
Why what?
Why Crick?
Oh yeah, Crick. So Crick, mostly just because you usually end up putting an ice in archives anyway, and it is kind of a pain in the ass for Anarchs to break. So that's more or less why it's in the deck. Also, there are games where like they face check the Crick and you like install NGO, which is awesome. So you like make money with it. So it's they kind of have to break it. They can't run through it over and over again.
I think what's interesting about your description right there, like let's just focus on Envelope, GFI, and Surveyor there, just to highlight the Newshound is also important here. Like, Newshound is here because Employee Strike is so relevant, and a lot of corps were on this. Like, yeah, you played 3 Scarcity, but Newshound was really here because Employee Strike is likely in play.
Yeah.
So going back to this Envelope, GFI, Surveyor thing, this all unfolded because of meta considerations, and like the thread you start pulling there is Turning Wheel. Like, you notice, and this I went through the same process with my Scorp deck. It's like I was on the Spiderweb because I wanted to punish the Bitey Boy breakers and all that. But you learn that the way you lose as a corp right now, well, you lose a lot of ways as a corp, but one of the primary ways you lose as corp is Turning Wheel. Turning Wheel just demolishes you. So it kind of means you cannot play Kakugo. I mean, you can, but if you're PU
it's
or
awkward.
something. Yeah, but it's awkward, and like it'll lose you games. But Envelope means they can't do that. That means you might as well get off of Obokata, which means you might as well get off Data Loop, which means you're on Surveyor, you're on GFI. Like, it just, all these decisions came out of that one card that's Turning Wheel. That's what I think, right?
Yeah, I think Turning Wheel is like a really big part of it. Absolutely. Yeah. And then I think the other big part was just that Obokata is kind of just not that good in a deck that isn't really dedicated to any kind of credible kill threat, right? And we've kind of seen that, I think, more and more, where like the decks that are really, really all in on playing Obokata tend to do okay if they can get all those pieces to come together. But what that boils down to is that you're just playing a positional ice deck, right? Like, you have to get your ice in a certain order and in a certain position and all that. So I didn't really want to play that.
Means
I just wanted
you kind of want to be on Ben Musashi or Hokusai. Like, you want to go more into that strategy.
Yeah, exactly. And I just kind of felt like that strategy was a trap. So, and this, I think, a really big part of this. So I played Polana at the King of Servers on Friday, and I played Obokata. I played a similar-ish deck to this one. I think I had like 3 envelope, all that stuff. So it was like a slightly different. It was probably 6 cards different. And then I think Noah McKee made most of the last-minute changes to the deck because he thought like he played the Susan, and I was like, all right, if you're playing Susan, I'm playing Susan because that card's sweet. Then,
it's like you just didn't like trust yourself to make the Susan call, but once Noah made it, you felt it was sort of allowed for you to play it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
something like that. It's like I think a lot of deck building decisions like that are like someone else feels pretty strongly about something, and then you don't really have a strong opinion either way, so you kind of go their way on it. Yeah,
I was all over those types of decisions.
Yep. So Noah had some opinions, and Wes had some opinions because they both played a lot of Jinteki over the years. So the list I initially played kind of got shaped into this. And I know I was pretty happy with it on the day. I think it's kind of tough playing Corp right now because you just have very little control over how the agendas go in any given game. The games I lost, I was flooded, and the games I won, I wasn't. So I think that kind of says everything.
Did you score Nisei in the games you won?
What'd you say?
Did you score Nisei in the games you won?
I usually scored Nisei early, yes. There was one game where I did not in the cut. That was a crazy game. And then I'm trying to think if there's any others. Oh, there was a game where I had 3 unresed ice on my remote. And he knew I had an NGO in my hand because I had Celebrity Gifted.
Oh,
so I just install advance in the remote going down to 1 credit. Gain a credit from his Earthrise at the start of his turn. He doesn't run the remote because he saw the NGO that I showed him, right?
Yeah.
Mandatory the Nisei the next turn. So I just scored the Nisei off the table and went broke. No defense. Completely naked Nisei. And, like, if he ran the server, he just wins the game. There's no way I could win.
I love that play was entirely supported by the fact that you only had 2 credits,
Yeah.
Like, if you had, 5 credits, then you got to run that thing, maybe, Like...
Yeah. But it's one of those things where, like, I ended my turn with 1 credit, and then I gained the Planet credit on his turn from Earthrise.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of funny. Like... You can do stuff like that. I also did a play where I installed an NGO, and then he didn't run. And then the next turn I did advance 3 times go. And then he's like, "Fuck, I gotta get."
Was it like match point situation or something?
And he went after it. He went after the NGO, and he broke a 8 strength surveyor to get in. And then he scored.
Oh wow! And then you just take 8 credits and install advance the next turn.
Yeah, exactly. And then I scored an agenda.
Yeah,
so
that's really
it's
good.
Interesting because like you have there's a lot of kinds of plays you can make in this deck that aren't necessarily like optimal, but they kind of like make the runner think different things about the board state, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, we've had 6 years of install means 3-2, install advance means 4-2, install advance means 5-3.
Yep.
And now there's a lot of tools in Netrunner that play with that math. Like I think your NGO is a good example, or better example is Jeeves.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that mess with that, and there's also just a lot of space for you to play with those expectations. Like I really like putting a 5-3 in the Scorp remote, and then letting my opponent install a bunch of cards at some point in the game, and then that's when you just triple advance it.
Yep.
And you triple advance it instead of double advance it, because just looking at the board, they would need to play Stim Hack twice in this one run to get in. It's just not going to happen. So it's safe.
And another thing too is like cards like Biovault. You can
that's a good example.
Multiple times in the tournament I did ice the remote, like 3rd piece of ice on the remote, install advanced Biovault. And everyone that broadcast Nisei to like everyone I played, right? Yeah. But the thing is the Biovault has to get 2 counters anyway. And if I'm going to do it, it doesn't matter if I do it all on this one turn or if I do it all again on the next turn. It makes no difference.
Yeah, if they run that remote, then the best thing you can do with Biovault is end the run, which is the same as them just accessing Biovault and having to pay like 1 to trash it or whatever.
Yeah. So, I think it's like you can split up a lot of these plays over multiple turns, and there's really not a lot of reason. I think like historically in Netrunner, you've seen a lot of like install advance or like the Nisei install advance, but in general, I'd say in this meta, for some reason I don't fully understand, you can you can definitely mix up those patterns really efficiently.
Yeah, there's a lot of play there.
Yep, definitely. So, overall, the deck was fine. I think I'd probably play it again.
Three of you were on it? I think you, Wes, and Noah were on this list?
Yeah, so me and Noah made top 8, and then Wes missed.
Yeah. Wes and I were in the same position. Roughly the same position of, we both swept out our first 2 rounds, and then we were paired against each other round 3, and we decided to ID because we just didn't want to have to play each other at that point in the tournament. And then I was against you round 4, and we again ID'd, so I was in a really screwed up situation, because now I'm going into round 5 of 6, where I need to sweep one more round, and the top section of the tournament is really solidifying.
I think you could have ID'd twice and made it.
In hindsight, I totally could have. I just looked at the math, and I'm in there. But
yeah,
I didn't know that at the time.
I think it's still better to play.
Yeah.
This is something that came up too. So I played that round that you got swept. So I ID'd with Brian, and then I was X and 1. So it's 5 and 1, or something like that.
Right.
And then the thought was, I ended up 7 or 6 and 2. And then the thought was, if I draw twice, I'm probably just in the bottom half, right? I'm probably the 13th or something. But if I sweep this guy that I'm going to play, then I'm in the top 8 and I can pick my side going into the next match. So I took the risk and went for the sweep, and I ended up winning both. But I think it's pretty much always better if you're interested in making the cut, you can do whatever. But I think if you want to win the tournament, it's almost always better to sweep that round, so that you can make a decision about what matchup you want to play, because you're just in much more control over your fate for the rest of the tournament. So that was the decision I made, and it did work out, and I got to choose. And it was important that I got to pick Corp in a favorable matchup for my Corp, because I think Corps in general are pretty bad and not really what you want to be playing in the cut. You want to play it as infrequently as possible. So if you get a good Corp matchup in your first round cut matchup, then you're in really good shape, because you're going to get to play Runner in your second round, which is exactly what happened. So I got to play Corp into Runner, which put me in the top 8. So, in general, there's a lot of decision making there, but I think we both could have ID'd in, but I still think it's if you're interested in winning the whole thing rather than just making the cut, then I think it's better to play.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, my thought was definitely just on getting into the cut generally, and I just felt like I didn't feel my strength of schedule was too good going into round 5. And so I felt like I needed to play on. I didn't want to ID 2 rounds and then hit 17. That was my fear. I was like, I don't want to come to this tournament, play 4 games, and then ID in the 17th. It was more so just protecting my feelings of that happening.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would rather bomb out than bubble after playing 4 games in Netrunner in a 6-round tournament.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
All right, so the people demand we talk about custom biotics. I don't know if I'm prepared to talk about this deck.
I don't really have anything to say. It's just a bunch of good cards and a blank ID.
Well, no, that's tech too. Do you remember why that's tech?
Go, because everyone plays Employee Strike?
Yeah, so a blank ID is tech. This is why Timmy Wong played Next Design at our Fresno regionals. This is why you play custom biotics.
That's next level.
Yeah. So this is CTZ Next episode. This is inspired by Timmy Wong's deck. Timmy Wong played kind of a deck like this. Played Surveyor Next Design. And we were joking that I saw Surveyor for the first time, I think, in Timmy's deck at our Fresno regionals, where Surveyor had just come out. And you go through the pack. What pack was that called? I can't remember the name of that pack. But anyway, you look through that pack, and you see this card Surveyor. And you notice 2 things about it. You notice it's Whalen Ice, and it has the number X on it. And from there, you move on to the next card immediately, right?
Yeah, you're not looking at this thing for more than 2 seconds. It has an X on it. These cards are terrible.
Yeah, you look at any Whalen card Ice that had X on it before, historically, is garbage.
Yeah, it's just trash.
Yeah, you don't even pay attention. But Timmy Wong, he did the thing that none of us were doing, which he looked at this card, and he thought about it objectively, and he did the math, and he was like, this is a very good piece of ice.
And yeah, he actually read what the card did.
He played this in Next Design. This was half of his influence in Next Design with Surveyor.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
And Jinja,
like Jinja Surveyor next design, yeah.
And he did really well at the Fresno Regionals with that.
Net jogging, I'd probably play Polana again if I had to play Nats tomorrow, and I think Brian would probably play Scorp again.
Oh, I'm going to keep playing. I think that Scorp deck, again, my only loss was a 6-card DDM, a 6-agenda DDM.
Yeah.
The other games I played, I didn't play that many, to be honest, but it felt very good. Like, that Scorp deck just feels very good to me.
Yeah.
It's just if like a Shaper becomes real popular, Control Shaper becomes real popular again, that's what makes it tough. But if that doesn't happen, then that Scorp deck is just really good.
Yeah, but I wonder if people are going to play. The thing is like even though 9 Icebreakers is like I think like very objectively correct in Valencia, people still aren't going to do it because they're greedy.
Yeah, no, you've
so
that
like
seems inefficient.
To keep picking up wins.
Yeah,
even
it seems
though
inefficient.
You could play 9 Icebreakers, you know.
Which I think makes the Scorp matchup like much easier. That being said, even if everyone was on 3 Icebreakers in Anarch, I still think that Scorp deck is base level playable.
No, yeah, it's still very good.
Like you said, it's just not going to happen.
It can still make you go broke. It can still like force you to play a baddie game. Like it has a lot of things going for it that aren't just killing breakers.
There's also like remember that we had I think a testing game, or maybe it was with Wes, I can't remember, but where my whole game is just like I very early on installed Double Advance in SSL behind like a Tithonium, and that scored. Hostile Takeover, and then like 2 turns after installed Double Advance SSL, it was Eric. And Eric, all he's doing in that game is drawing cards. Yeah. He's just looking for his paperclip. It was a Freedom deck, and he couldn't find it. And so sometimes as Scorp, it's like it's not necessarily about Lockout. I call if you're playing Scorp Lockout, I call that a child's dream deck.
Yeah,
it just isn't going to happen. But you remove their breakers to buy you time to install Double Advance.
Yeah.
It's click compression, but you're taxing their clicks to draw the Icebreaker.
Yeah, for sure. It's really good. It's I think Scorp's just good anyway. So I also think Archer might we can maybe look at the new box or whatever, but I think Anarch's going to continue to be not Anarch, Wayland's going to continue to be very playable.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to go for like another half an hour if you're up for it.
Yeah, sure.
Let's I guess dig into Reign and Reverie a little bit. Is that the thing?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll do a box review.
Let's do a real quick box review.
Yeah, a real fast one.
What's your thought on Nat?
Very good, very playable. It's hard to say if it's as good as having a BP, but I think with something like Nat, you could maybe play instead of playing all the conspiracy breakers because you have a 40-card deck. That probably means you don't have to play inject, so you can play more efficient breakers. So you could maybe go back to like Mimic,
that's interesting.
Stuff like that. So I think you still play Paperclip because it's the best icebreaker in the game. But aside from that, I think you can play other breakers and feel pretty confident.
What do you feel? So like this is the thing with Nat that I'm and I haven't thought a lot about this, but so you ideally want to get down to 2 cards in hand at the end of your turn, and that's not difficult. Like
No, it's not hard.
Yeah, that part is pretty easy to control, and you don't always need to do it. Like if you have enough money, then you don't need to use Nat's ability. Nat is also just a 40-card ID. But my question is, how do you then like draw the cards you need? Is it just on 0 and I've had worse, or do you feel you need more draw?
Yeah, I think you just play I've had worse and 0, and maybe that's it. Or you maybe are just like, I don't know. It's hard to say. You don't really need that much draw. Or maybe you just don't even play 0. You just play inject and I've had worse, and that's it. Because your deck's so small, you're going to get so little. You're going to get less 0 value, I feel.
Right.
So,
yeah. Divide and Conquer, we briefly talked about. I'll read it out. Make a run on archives. If successful, after accessing archives, access 1 card in HQ and then access the top card of R&D. Pretty good.
It's good in a turning wheel deck, for sure.
Because the thing with turning wheel with this is you build up a turning wheel with like, let's say 6 counters. You play Divide and Conquer, you look at 4 cards in hand, and you look at 4 cards in R&D.
Yep.
And that's all really good value.
Yeah, it seems fine. I think it's worse than playing 0, and I think it's hard to play both.
Yeah, that's true. Because Divide and Conquer is a play. It's like, DDM or whatever, where you have to build up towards it. So.
Yeah. So you might be in like a same old thing, max turning wheel kind of deck. You can play Divide and Conquer.
Just like make that your win condition, basically.
Yep.
Build up turning wheels and then do like 1 Divide and Conquer run.
Yep, you see 5 on each server. It's probably good enough to win.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about guinea pig earlier.
It's very good to me.
Yeah, very good economy. Like you were saying earlier, there's a lot of NR cans you're willing to just discard. You could go somewhat broke with this too. You could go down to install 2 things from your hand, go down to 4 credits and play guinea pig, trashing 1 duplicate copy of Turning Wheel or whatever, and then that's really good value.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's great. I also just think you can just play it as your last card in hand too, which makes it very good.
I know there's other cards that play into this archetype. This is like the no hand size archetype that they played around with in.
There's that thing that gives you a click, right? That guy. Does he give you a click?
I'm trying to remember. There's a thing that you don't take damage on run, but you discard your hand. Yeah, you're right. There's something where at the start of your turn, if you have no cards in hand,
you gain a click or something.
Yeah.
That thing seems sweet.
Patchwork. This one seems very good. Yeah. So hardware console, 4 credits, 1 memory. Once per turn, when you would play or install a card, you may trash 1 card from your grip to lower the player install cost by 2. So it's kind of like you always have a mini career fair that works on any card type.
Yeah, that's really good. I think it goes without saying it's extremely strong. Yeah. Hard to say if it's really good as I don't know, just playing turntable and stuff. But the thing about it, I guess, is that it is good with Nat. You definitely play it in Nat because it helps you make sure you do that kind of stuff.
Get rid of 2 cards out of hand.
Yeah. I don't know how often you play it in other things, though. Maybe I don't know. I think this might even be splashable in Criminal or a Shaper as your console, just because it's a lot of economy.
Yeah, it's tough because it's 3 influence, and you probably want all 3 because Patchwork is the card you want on turn 1, ideally. You'd want something like install Patchwork, play Dirty Laundry, discarding a copy of Patchwork to go back up to 5 credits and rip an agenda with 2 clicks spent. That seems like very good value.
Yes. Hijacked Router
go for it.
Just obliterates asset spam, right?
Whenever the Corp creates a server, he or she loses a credit. Whenever you make a successful run on archives, you may trash it to force Corp lose 3.
This card seems like maybe a little overkill. It's one of those things where it's too narrow.
Well, it's nice that it does give you econ denial. It's not good econ denial, but I could see this is a card where this feels like a card that they should have printed 2 years ago.
I feel that about all the anti-asset spam cards in this box.
Yeah, they just a little too late on this stuff, but I would have played 3 hijacked routers at certain times in the meta for sure.
Yes. There are periods in Neverwinter history where I would have played 3 hijacked routers, that is for certain.
You read this decoder, Cradle.
Cradle, so it's a 5 strength decoder, 4 to install 1 MU. It has -1 strength for each card in your grip, and then it is 2 to break any number of code gate subroutines. So this thing's actually very good for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is that you probably have a Data Sucker and an Ice Carver installed. The second reason is that it breaks Fairchild and DNA Tracker for 2.
So you'd probably need some support, like you're saying, data suckers, whatnot. You'd probably need some support to get there, but once you do, I mean, this is kind of the replacement for Yogg, is the way to think of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not equivalent, but it's kind of like serving that same function that Yogg was supposed to serve in Anarch.
But instead of being free, it costs something.
You know what's interesting about Yogg? We were playing O&R. We actually streamed it on Arborfowl's channel. You could go look at Arborfowl's channel to go see that. But we streamed on Sunday night. Andrew and I played O&R with randomized A&R IDs. So that was funny. But I haven't played a lot of O&R, but that reminded me, a lot of breakers in O&R have 0 credits to break subroutines.
It's super common.
It's super common, and I could see why they printed Yogg in A&R, because there was just sort of this precedent in O&R of that being an okay thing to do.
Yep. I think O&R is really different. It's a lot more card gamey, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You're doing a lot more stuff directly to the other person than you do in A&R.
Also, I opened one of his starter decks, and they had Rototurret printed, basically. It was like Rototurret, but they had 4 different copies of Rototurret. Each one was just 1 more credit for 1 more strength, but it was the identical card. And just that's the CCG format showing itself, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, District 99. So we got another CD location. Shout out to CD location. 3 install costs. The first time each turn, a program or piece of hardware is trashed from any location, place a power counter, and then 3 power counters, add a card that matches the faction of your identity from your heap to your grip. Your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't even know how to use this thing. The first time each turn a program or piece of hardware is trashed. So it's like, I guess the thought is that with patchwork, you're like discarding stuff and this thing's getting counters, right?
And then you can bring back, so you can like get rid of programs you want later to pay for installing the things you want now, and then bring them back later.
I guess the cool thing is it's like a same old thing after you do it 3 times, but you can keep doing it. So like, it costs a click to get the card back, but then it costs a click to play the card. So it's just same old thing, right?
Same old thing.
But you install it once and it costs 3 to install.
So it's probably best, you could bring back any card, so it's probably best for an event. It's like getting back some event that you played that you really want to play again.
Yeah. This is the kind of card I wish that people just wouldn't print, because if it's good, it's probably insane, right?
Yeah, it's more recursion in a faction that already has a lot of recursion, and they removed recursion because it was a problem.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's hard. Like, I think this card's probably very balanced, which probably means it's not very playable.
Trope is probably the best example of a recursion card done right?
Yeah, I think Trope's very fair.
Trope
because
seems,
you have to turn it on by drawing your whole deck.
Right, to get back exactly what you want. Or
Yep.
Otherwise it's just kind of a value card, which is fine.
Yep. All right, Liza Talking Thunder. This card's insane. She's a 50/15 criminal Gmod, so you can actually Fenris into her. The first time you make a successful run on a central server each turn, draw 2 cards and take a tag. So
we were talking about like Jesmender. You started as Jesmender and then you Fenris into Liza.
Yeah.
Things like that.
That's pretty sick, right?
Yeah.
And you can hostage for Fenris in Eternal. So, the thing about Liza Talking Thunder is that even if you draw the 2 cards and clear the tag, it's still positive value. If you consider a credit to be like, I don't know, half a click is like clicking for a credit, and like a card is like a whole click because it's better, you know?
Right.
So I think her ability, even just drawing 2 cards, is just really good. Like, I think it's a very strong ability. Criminal struggled for a long time without card draw, and it has super obvious synergy with a bazillion criminal cards. So I think Liza Talking Thunder is extremely good. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, anyone looks at this and you Citadel comes to mind immediately, right?
Yeah.
Or
even just Crash Space. I think Crash Space is totally fine.
You can. It's hard to, like, there's a lot of cards that play into this idea. Like Hot Pursuit is just a run event that it's like Dirty Laundry on acid. There's a lot of things like this that just give you tags and whatnot, and it's hard to imagine how all this doesn't just go into a Citadel deck.
Yeah.
Because there's been already a lot of Citadel support, and now there's a Citadel ID. It just seems like the obvious thing. But I agree that just playing Crash Space
is probably fine.
Probably also really good. Maybe that suggests a very different deck, too, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Hot Pursuit, like you said, just like a big Dirty Laundry.
Yeah.
Paragon, it's like Fixed Desperado. You add a card to the bottom of your stack. Or you look at the top card of your deck when you do it. You add a card to the bottom of your stack, but it's only once per turn. So,
yeah,
this is good.
Probably good. Yeah, I think this is a fine console. I think it's probably pretty good.
It's very, very playable. Bankroll is a program. When you make a successful run, you get a credit on it. And then you can trash it to take all of it. So it's like a Desperado. You don't get the money instantly, but you can trash it to get all the money off it. I think it's very good.
I think it's cool how they basically reprinted Desperado through 2 different cards in this set.
Yeah, and they're both very good, but definitely not overpowered. They're
and then together you put both these down early. Like that's super powered run econ right there. So you can combine them to create something better than Desperado.
Yeah, agreed. Tycoon is the most interesting icebreaker ever. So the numbers on it are crazy. It's 1, strength 1. It's what, like 1 to break 2 barrier subroutines, 2 credits for 3 strength.
Yep.
But when you break something with it, the corp gets 2 credits.
Which is so interesting because is there a lot? The criminal does have a good amount of econ denial. diversion of funds being the new siphon, the greatest example of that. And so here's one. This reminds me of the breakers in Honor and Profit, the ones that only work on central servers. It's the same type of thing where you get efficiency at the like a downside.
Yep. Thunder Art Gallery, obviously insane, right?
Yes,
super good.
This one also, I mean, it's the Liza card, obviously, but I think this just also makes Citadel so tempting to play. First time you avoid remove tag each turn, you may install a card from group, lowering its cost by 1.
Yep, and that just makes, if you have Citadel, Thunder Art Gallery, and Liza, the equation there is just pure value. It's crazy.
You know what's interesting? Right. Wait, Patchwork works with this, right?
With what?
Thunder Art Gallery.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if that's going to be a thing, but
that's really funny. So you can like reduce the cost by 3.
Reduce. So you play Patchwork and Liza, and you make a run. You like dorm computer to remove it or whatever, and then you get to reduce the cost. Yeah, that's good value.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice bones. Another card I would have played 3 copies of in a lot of decks if it had come out 2 years ago.
Yeah, here's more asset spam tech.
Yep. $12 on her, so it's net 10 for trashing cards. I think if your opponent is Gagarin and they install 3 assets and you install a Miss Bones, they're probably pretty sad. So, that's a thing.
Yeah, this feels like Bank Job, though, where it's the type of thing that, like, you may be tech in the right meta, but otherwise there's a risk of it doing nothing, and that risk makes it hard to play, maybe?
Yeah, I agree.
But it's good. It's the numbers are right. All right, and okay. So the Shaper cards, Nisei, you do a Psy game on R&D and you access another card.
Yep, pretty sweet. I like it.
Yeah, it's cool.
You can rebirth into it, so it is the first really good rebirth target, I think.
Yeah, for Shaper. Yeah, I think there was some talk of like I think Aki even said this. You start as Smoke, and you have rebirth, and then like once you have enough stealth credits, you just switch over to Nisei to close out the game?
Yep.
Yeah, Aleph coming in there. I liked that idea. That's the kind of like Shaper BS I'm into.
Yep.
Insight, go ahead and read it.
Yeah, so Insight is a 0-cost double event. You look at the top 4 cards of R&D, and then the Corp looks at the top 4 cards of R&D and arranges them in any order, and then the Corp reveals the 4 cards to you in the order they set them. I actually think this card's pretty good, but it's not good in a very fun way. I just think Maker's Eye plus Niashia makes this pretty fine, right? Because you're like, you play it, they show you that there is at least one agenda in the top 4 cards, and then you play Maker's Eye and you steal it.
So Niasha is just like it's like RDI as a program, is that the one?
Yeah, it's like an RDI program that you can only use a few times.
Yeah, Arborfell pointed out Miss Bones makes Adam much safer. That's some interesting insight into Adam.
Yeah.
Mind's Eye. All right, so we have a console. One memory. Whenever you make a successful run R&D, you may place power counter, and then you could just spend a click and 3 hosted power counters to access the top card of R&D.
So what's interesting is this has a lot of synergy with the turning wheel, right?
Oh yeah, because you could just build up turning wheel counters until you have a game-ending turn.
Oh no, you can't, because you can only use turning wheel on a run.
It's only on a run, so yeah, you're right. This doesn't work on turning wheel.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah, no, because that seems like there's something degenerate there for sure.
Yeah, I feel like accessing a card from the top of R&D, there must be something you can do, but I don't know what it is.
I don't know how to spell that card. Nyasha work with it?
I think it does. It does, yes. Nyasha does work with it, but you need to have like 3 Nyashas installed for it to be like pretty big, and then it would be like you see 4 cards one time.
Yeah. That's not as good as DDM.
Yeah.
But no, this is cool. I think this could be a Smoke console too. Smoke doesn't always play a console.
Yep.
So I don't know. This seems like Smoke. You just get a lot of cheap accesses in R&D, and then maybe there's like spy camera stuff here going on too, something like that.
Yeah. Mache is very good. It's a 1-cost hardware. The first time you trash an accessed card each turn, you place a power counter on it, and then you can spend 3 power counters to draw a card, and you actually place power counters on it equal to the trash cost.
Oh wow!
So if you trash a pad campaign, it gets 4 counters, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. It seems very playable to me.
You could also use Imp to trash things, and then still... Like, you could trash Oh my god, you could trash like a 14 cost ice or something, right? With Imp?
Yeah.
And then just draw your deck?
No, it's trash cost.
Oh, okay, yeah. That doesn't work.
So like, I mean, if you Imp a pad campaign, I still think you get 4 counters on it, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Ika? I don't know how to pronounce this.
Mm-hmm.
Icebreaker Killer, install 0, memory 1, strength 2. So that seems pretty good. You could pay 2 credits at paid ability to host it on a piece of ice, and then break 2 subroutines on host sentry or go up in strength. So this is the same stats as the criminal breaker, right?
Yes.
And it
But
has
you have
its
to
own
pay 2 to host it.
own limitation. That's really cool.
I actually think this card's cool too, because if you have like a multi-threader out, you can hide it on like a code gate. So for example, to get rid of this thing, they have to trash the ice it's being hosted on, right?
Right.
So when you host it on their sentry to break, you could move it to like a DNA tracker and be like, do you want to trash your DNA tracker?
Oh, just kind of save it on the big boy they don't want to trash.
Yeah, exactly. And then store it on like their biggest ice.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I like that.
So it has stuff going on. It's really interesting. I don't know how good it actually is, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Kyuban's really sick. What you do is you install it on their ice, and then whenever you pass the ice, you get $2. It costs nothing. But the cool thing is, if you have DDoS, you can just make 1,000,000 credits with it. Which is funny.
The ideal thing is like pop this off a peddler, pop DDoS, and then just make 8 credits and get 4 turning wheels.
Yeah, and then like access 4 cards.
Yeah.
Seems very good to me. I don't know. This card seems very playable. It's also one of those things where you host it. If you host this on like a vanilla, you strictly make money off the ice, right?
Right.
So
this fits
anything that's really gear checky and cheap is a huge liability if your opponent has Kyuban.
It also fits into like Smoke's whole thing pretty well too.
Yeah, agreed.
Right,
and if it's making them, it's a way for the Shaper deck to get you to trash an ice. Because once you add gaining 2 credits in, most big ice becomes pretty bad.
Yeah,
like, quite fast.
With you can like neutralize the ice entirely, which just means the corp spending a credit to install an ice on that server, and they might just trash it.
Yeah, exactly.
Psych Mic Connection install 1. The first time a successful run on R&D ends each turn, you may gain 1 credit for each card you accessed from R&D. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it's very cool. It's like a Desperado on R&D.
Yeah, base
But even better
level
sometimes.
is just an R&D Desperado, which is not like the server you want Desperado on necessarily. You'd rather have on HQ, but like play the Maker's Eye and then stuff like that. This has a lot of obvious synergy.
Yep, it's super efficient. It seems very strong to me.
All right, here's Isaac's card, Algernon.
Algernon? Algernon?
Algernon. I don't know. You're probably right.
I think it's Algernon. It's based off the children's book. It's not really a children's book, but the short story. When your turn begins, you may pay 2 to gain a click. If you do, trash Algernon when your turn ends if you do not make a successful run this turn. So, it's pretty good. I can see playing this.
You could use your multi-threader to pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like
Grifter. Play cards like
it's like Grifter. You gotta so you might as well stack Grifters in Eternal and Algernon decks.
Grifter Algernon.
Yeah,
coming at me.
Yeah, Grifter
so
pays
good.
you. You know.
Yep. Reboot's legitimately pretty good. You make run archives, run event, and then you install 5 cards from your heap face down, and then you remove reboot from the game.
It's funny. I like somebody was talking about playing. I forget who playing like looking forward to playing Apex, whatever. And I was like, oh, it's too bad that Apex didn't get a good card in Reign of Reverie. And they were like, are you crazy? But that was, I think it was Wes who said this, and I was like, oh, but maybe like my intuition's just wrong, and like I'm convinced it is because a lot of people are telling me this is really good.
Yeah, it's just good in a dumb way. It gives you things to sell to Aesops and Chopbot, and it gives you things to turn face up with Assimilator.
You're right.
So it's good in a way that it's kind of like installing 5 blank cards as Shaper. Mm-hmm. Like there's stuff you can do with them, you know. That's the more important bit.
Yeah, I don't know. It was my feeling that like Apex didn't necessarily need more face downs. Like the Apex ability, if you build your deck right, is enough. But it does make sense with the Aesops and whatever else you're doing to need the fuel. Here's my card, Office Supplies.
Yes.
All right.
The Sunny card.
Sunny card. Event, it costs 4, but you're reduced to play cost by the number of links. So it costs Sunny 2, and I figure on average it costs Sunny 1. And for 1 credit, you get either 4 credits or you draw 4 cards. The draw 4 cards part is big. Like Sunny's, in my opinion, Sunny's only real problem, because I think it's a great set of cards, is you don't have draw built in. Like, you need to import your draw somehow, which means you're usually on like Earthrise Hotel, which is awkward. So this can just replace Earthrise Hotel. Like, base level, it can do that. Yeah, this is a massive card for Sunny.
Yeah, I agree. It's extremely good. So we'll see that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to play this at the next game night, kid. I have a chance to play that.
Yep.
And then the Fen.
Old Fenny boy. He seems really good.
Go ahead and read this one. In case somehow... I think everyone here knows all these cards already, but...
Yeah, you can host a Gmod on him. He's 3-cost connection. But the Gmod you host on him, which is an identity, can't be matching your faction. And then the ID gets removed from the game if he's trashed.
You know, what's funny about that is that's just handling like an awkward rules thing. Is that like otherwise the ID would just fall into this heap.
Yeah, and then you have like a dead shaper or whatever.
Yeah,
in your heap.
The only Apex can reboot it, and then Apex would be able to flip it over, and then the ID's active. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's just handling an edge case in the rules.
Yeah, but it seems pretty cool. Like people, I think the big one people talk about is Haley and Geist.
Oh, our boy Pete is super excited about that.
Yep, for sure. He does cost an influence, though. He's not free.
Yeah, and then a 1 of, right?
Yep, you can only play 1.
Wait, is that true?
Yeah, you can only play 1 of them. Pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
Should be. I don't know. It doesn't say it on Netrunner DB.
Yeah, but... they just... I remember it working that way, and that's why we talk about playing the tutor for it in Eternal.
That's my understanding as well.
Yeah, because the Netrunner DB is not updated yet.
Do you have any... I don't think we have time for all the Corp cards, but do you have any highlights that you
why
really like?
Why don't you name 3 that you're really interested in, and then I'll name 3.
Okay. So, I'm really interested in Fly on the Wall. I think Fly on the Wall is really, really good because it's going to let you like install advance a card that is not like an agenda that immediately like scores you, like wins you the game, but it does enable you to play like your tag punishment cards without needing to be winning economically.
Right. So the obvious thing is install double advance, next turn advance, and then exchange for the GFI, and then they have a tag still and you closer accounts or whatever. So
exactly.
This is the new breaking news is kind of the idea.
Yep. So I think that one's really cool. I'm really excited about Attitude Adjustment, which is the operation. It's 2 credits, draw 2 cards, reveal 2 cards in agenda or 2 agendas in HQ or archives. You gain 2 credits for each agenda revealed, and then you shuffle them into R&D.
I really like how they handled transitioning away from Jackson Howard. Like they've just been dripping in cards for a long time that kind of simulate Jackson Howard in a way, and you have a lot of options now. And
I think this is the first set where there are a lot of good ones.
This one is super good value.
Yeah, and then I think Building Blocks is probably the card I want to try to figure out how to use the most. But it's a 5-cost Wayland operation. It says reveal a barrier from HQ, install it in Reza, ignoring all costs. Yep. So I think you just play like 3 Chiashis or something in 3 of these.
And I'm sure people that are real into... oh no, what's the Wayland ID that bounces cards back?
Blue Sun.
Blue Sun. I'm sure people are excited to have this in Blue Sun after losing Oversight AI. Oversight AI is probably... Well, I don't know. It's not better. I'm thinking for Blue Sun, would you rather have this, or would you rather have... You'd rather have Oversight AI for Blue Sun.
Oversight AI is more money, but this lets you put it down and have it not have the drawback of getting broken and being derezzed.
There's no risk. Like, Oversight AI, if that was a big risk at getting, like, stim hacked or whatever. And then...
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Let me look at some of these cards. I know... I'm trying to remember, is it blockchain? Oh, no. I'm trying to figure out which one it was. There's one... I don't know the cards as well. Well, the ID, the HB ID is very interesting.
Super good.
I think just like how it plays into all of the cards that synergize with it. Like the HB cards seem super synergetic and interesting. But yeah, this kind of like forward acceleration, and it's the same thing that we've seen in this last cycle of like scored or stolen triggers. So it plays into. Like, can you imagine like scoring an SSL and then getting to gain 2 credits with this? And I don't know, it's just so much value.
Yep. Yeah, I love it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought of one. I think it's an HP card. The thing with D-reses. Yes. Okay, this is my favorite card I think I've seen. So
Divert Power.
Divert Power costs 2. D-res any number of cards. You may res a card, lowering its res cost by 3 for each card you D-res. So, like, I love Spark. Spark has not been playable in a long time, at least at the highest levels of competition, if ever. Like, I tried it.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a Spark card. 1 influence. This is extremely good in Spark. You can D-res, like, 4 of your ads that are ticking down. You get to res... Like, I don't know what the highest value would be, but let's just say a toll booth. You just res a toll booth, and then you get to sap 4 of their credits over the next 2 turns.
Yeah. I think you can do, like, you can de-res, like, pop-up window, like, 2 assets, or,
Yeah.
and then res toll booth.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
That all seems very good to me. And, like, and there's a lot of econ denial in Corp now. You have, like, the big thing is economic warfare. I don't know. Just I think that's a very good card for Spark, and I'm excited to play it.
Yeah, it seems cool.
The last one, there is definitely a Joseki card I want to point out. I don't know them well enough. Well, let's talk about Jumon.
What can you even fucking do with this thing?
Oh, so the last card like this was mandatory upgrades, which is cycled out, and I played it we had one more jank tournament before rotation hit, and I scored 2 mandatory upgrades in 2 different games, and it's just like the best thing that's happened in a long time.
Well, you just win the game if that happens, right?
Yeah, you do. So Jumon is, I think, similar. I mean, it's when your turn ends, place 2 advancement tokens on a card installed in a server. It's like if you get this installed, you get to Mushin. Like a key point of this out. You get to Mushin Notion advance, and at the end of your turn, that thing has 6 advancement counters on it. The runner cannot risk running it, which means you just score another. It's the Jumon train.
Yeah.
It's the Jumanji
train.
The
Jumon train, yeah.
Yeah, the Jumon train. You just train the Jumons. It's easy.
And then whenever you install a card, it gets 4 advancements on it for free.
Yeah, and by the time you score the 3rd one, at the end of your turn, it has 6 advancements on it. That's just too many.
Yeah, you can't access cards anymore. You gotta go to the essentials.
I don't know. This is just a very exciting card.
Yeah, it's very fun. Like, it's clearly going to be interesting. People will play.
Yeah. It's super funny. I really like. We need more cards like this just for the stream that Andrew and I do. We need more Jumons. So anyway, yeah, I think we'll probably finish it up there. So I can go decompress after working all day and maybe eat some food. I'm sure you want to do the same.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. So this was a little bit different of a stream than usual. We're not sure if we're streaming next week. Next week is 4th of July here in the US, and the schedule's a little bit awkward, but we'll let you know. Check out the Twitter account at We Are Making News. And I think 2 weeks from now is going to be the final pack of the Roseville cycle. So we have one more pack to do in the Roseville cycle. There's a lot of work. That pack needs to do a lot.
Yeah.
We have some ideas for the Exodia...
the Olive Garden Exodia?
Olive Garden set. We have some ideas for that, which is a little bit unusual. You've not seen a Netrunner card like this before. Mostly in the logistics of how it's structured physically. So we'll talk more about that. A little bit of a teaser there. Anything else? Thanks for playing One Last Job with me, John.
Yeah, no worries. That was really fun.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to say to the folks?
No, just have a nice night. I'll see you around.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, folks.